Levin's model of change in detail. Right? We actually were looking into the various perspectives and application part of Levin's model in organization. In that context, we discussed briefly the force field analysis, isn't it? And in force field analysis, we saw that for an equilibrium to be present in the organization, it is important that the driving force, that your driving force and resistance force should be at equilibrium, should be balanced, so that the organization has a equilibrium position, right? Whenever there is change, remember, whenever there is this change in external environment, it influences the change in internal environment of the organization. And whenever this there is change for need for change in internal environment, there will always be resistances. We will continue with the example that we discussed yesterday, and there will be that driving force. Wherever you are sitting in your organization, whatever position you are holding, the change may be taking place within your team members. Remember, it may be within the particular department you are working in your organization, or the influence of change can be holistically on whole organization. How you as a smart HR person need to read this change, this is very important. So when you see there is certain change, influence of certain change taking place, or there is need of certain change in the organization, you need to actually study the driving forces and the resistance forces. See, if driving force is more, if this is high, then there is no problem, you can carry on with change very smoothly. It will be a smooth process with little issues. But if resistance force is high, then there will be lot of obstructions, right? There will be obstructions, there will be dysfunctional behavior, which will lead to a process called regression in the organization. You know what is regression? Regression is nothing but going back, pulling from back. So people who are resisting will always try to bring back their position of equilibrium. But is their position of equilibrium right for an organism's sustenance? That is the issue. Nobody among us wants change, but we all try to build the agility within us and be resilient, because we know if we don't change, we will, perish. We will not survive. The question I asked you, instead, as Annie answered, that we only go out when it is very much required. Now, what's the issue? If we go out and move freely like we used to move out before COVID-19, nothing but we may get into trouble. And if the problem is of a serious in nature, then survival is also very tough. So hence we see that if there is too much of resistance in organization, what happens? People always try to pull the organization activities in or process in a direction to sustain, to continue with the previous status, right? But whenever we are trying to be with previous status, then you cannot move forward. You cannot have both the things together on the same plate, right? So therefore, here your role as a manager comes to understand driving forces and resisting forces. So what you will do, you will first try to understand and identify the driving and resisting forces. Second, you need to understand the intensity also. Intensity means, you know, the degree, how far the resistance, is it very high or is it just as a superficial level? If it is at a superficial level, we will see in Levin's change model how change is easy, you know. But if the intensity is high or the degree is very high, then maybe you have to devise lot many more of efforts you will have to put in with many OD interventions and other such activities clubbed together so that you can reduce this resistance. The moment the resistance diffuses, the driving force will be easy for change, right? So let me pick up from the example that we discussed yesterday in our previous class, sorry. So this was the example we were discussing, right? In this example, what was the case? In this example, the situation is the organizations want to go for change in equipment, and you see this 1, 2, 3, 4 are the degrees of intensity. Now, how do you collect this information? Now, this is again interesting part. You can collect information by talking to people. You may conduct interview. You can collect data from people through attitude survey. Okay. Or you can conduct small group meetings and try to find out. See, these are all techniques that actually managers use at the workplace so that they can solve the problem or, you know, try to find a solution. So here what happens as a person, as an HR person, how will you get the information whether forces are against change or forces are driving forces or forces are for change? So you can collect by talking it to people through the process of interview. You can conduct some survey, you know. Organizations, see, HR, marketing, these very much depend on research nowadays. If you don't have the research acumen, you don't use different ways and means to collect information and, you know, analyze the information, then you will not be able to be innovative and creative at whatever job you are doing. So whatever work you are doing as an HR person in the organization, you can be more innovative, you can be more creative only when you keep your research lens on always. Okay? And when you keep your research lens on means keep your eyes open on looking at picking up you know, information from your environment, scenario building. Then moreover, you can get attitude, collect attitude of people, look what they want to say, or you can conduct small group interviews, group discussions. You can collect where people will give their opinion, and from the opinion of people you can actually, you know, you put this in scales, in scale of 4, in scale of 5. You must have studied in research methodology Likert scale. You can put on this, you put on intensity. You can find the intensity of the outcomes of your observations, and this intensity is important because intensity actually helps you remember to prioritize. See, why we need managers? We need managers because our resources are limited. Always remember that. In all, it may be capital, it may be technology, it may be people, it may be, you know, whatever resources your organization is using. Since resources are limited, so therefore to optimum utilize the resources, we need managers. Now you need, and since these resources are limited, you need to prioritize, because at the same point of time you cannot play with all the forces at the same point of time. You know, you need to focus on 2 or 3 areas where you can give more effort in bringing about change instead of scattering the whole energy in getting done everything, which is not possible, right? So how will you make this decision? You will prioritize the things. Phone, technique. Fishbone technique is also called root cause analysis technique. It is also called Ishikawa technique. It's a very good technique to, you know, do brainstorm and find causes or reasons. So if you are conducting, suppose you're conducting a group meeting to find out, you know, as an HR person, suppose you present before the organization the necessity of change. In this picture, we try to be very practical in your thought process. In this picture, if you see, customer wants new product is the main driver of organization, isn't it? If you don't have customers, your organization will not sustain. This manufacturing process doesn't make a sense if there are no customers. So it is a necessity for you to change, isn't it? Here in this particular example, necessity, the change is a necessity for you. To change, you will have to change what? You need to change the technology, isn't it? You need to change technology. So if you change technology, the production speed will be high. There will be reduced training time, because you know you may use various such methodologies which can use short time and impart learning of the technology to employees. And most of one of the most important thing is, most of the technology comes from with SOPs. You have guided instructions. So in the beginning you may feel, you know, like just like the menu driven apps we download, in the beginning you may feel little bit of inertia, like how to start, how should I do it. But the moment you start doing it, they're so well instructions are so well laid out, it are menu driven, and you can do it. Similarly, it is estimated that time will be reduced and maintenance cost will be less. Moreover, your customers want it, so you need to go for technology. So now it appears from this scenario, this is a particular scenario, and from this scenario it appears that change is inevitable. That means the organization needs to go through change. Now when this organization is trying to move with change process, now let us look at what you should not see what are the options available for you. One is you directly declare change in technology, you establish new equipments, and then you proceed with the process. That is one process. Second process is you consult people in your organization and try to analyze the thought process of people, because you know, among all the resources, human being is the only resource which gives competitive advantage to your company. So even if you change technology, if your people are not well trained to use the technology, they are not in a proper mindset, in a positive attitude to use the change, then definitely, you know, it all crashes. All your efforts is lost. In spite of having best of technology, your productivity may be very low if you don't have support of people. So it becomes very vital that you look at the forces against change. Now if you just read this, the three most important forces of against change with high priority or intensity are loss of staff over time, then staff fearful of new technology, and third is cost. Now think, as an HR person, what options do you have? How can you reduce this? How can you reduce this? By generating awareness, isn't it? By generating, because this is just a fear. The moment there is clarity, the fear goes out. isn't it? So therefore you need to be more awareing people, you need to be more transparent. Remember, if you get case studies or situations, you have to deliberate like this. So you need to, you know, be more transparent in telling about people what things are going to change, and if things are going to change, how they are going to handle the people, how they are going to manage. They may be introducing training and development, and cases where, suppose, now what happens with the training and development and this change in technology, you know, this change in technology and training and development, it appears very easy for an to say, but normally problem occurs with people who are in older age groups. Now people on older age groups, especially after 50, 55, you know, they're planning for their retirement. So normally these guys are not very much interested, and they find them helpless and you know, obsolete, redundant to carry on with the technology changes. So what can you do at this point of time? At that point of time, for those people who know whose age is more than say 55 years or 50 plus years, what you can do is you can prepare programs like voluntary retirement schemes, or you can change their roles. You can change their roles. You can redesign job, right? You can de-design job. This is one of the thing you can do. And since the cost, one of the resisting force here is cost, so you will have to see all the ways how you can reduce cost. So in reducing cost, one of the important tactics that is always followed, or by the organizations, is going for layoff or retrenchment. Now layoff or retrenchment definitely, you know, is a loss to people, but then many times organizations do it by telling the people the real story, that if the organization is not going to exist, is not able to survive in the competitive environment, the organization will die itself, and with it the jobs of the people will be lost. Then better than death of a senescence of an organization, it is better that the organization survives by making some modifications or changes. So there can be something called redeployment also, redeployment, and many such schemes you have to come out depending on what is the age group of people, what is their competencies or abilities who need to be reduced. Can you give, or can you suggest them some alternative employment, right? Though this is a little bit harsh, but at the same time, if you know the organization is not going to survive if it doesn't change its manufacturing equipments, then in that case you need to very delicately handle this issue, right? Another issue here is loss of staff over time. See, why people are, what is the main reason why people are, you know, against the change? Because they will lose overtime, because overtime, working overtime is related to their remuneration. For as per the Labours Act, if you check Factories Act, you get a remuneration almost double for all the hours you work overtime, right? So how you can handle this in your organization? You can redesign job, and you redesign compensation package also. You redesign job and you redesign compensation. Okay, so there may be n number of issues that may come up, but these are some idea I'm trying to float in your mind, how when you encounter some issue, some problem in faced an organization, how should you go about it? And second thing is this fishbone technique we picked up is for brainstorming, which helps to identify the clauses, and the other one which is referred to as nominal group technique Remember, nominal group technique is a process by which we prioritize. So this is important thing. When we have scarce opportunities, we can prioritize a particular find out which of, suppose out of these three things, which we should address first. If you are unable to take a call because of the whatever rational information you have, you can go for this nominal group technique where you conduct a meeting. You must have studied, I'm sure. You conduct a meeting of people, and then you prioritize based on the priorities given by them, and then you rank order them, right? So next, let us move to what we this was something which we started in our last class, but we could not complete. That was the unfreeze, change and refreeze. So see, once you have identified here the issues and you know what probable solutions do you have, you can go about the change process. Now here Levin actually in his change model of unfreeze, change and refreeze, which is also referred to as the ice cube model, he actually first focused on unfreezing. He said that before you directly implement change or barge in, you should first unfreeze it. Now how will you unfreeze? You recognize the need for change, determine what needs to be changed, encourage the replacement of old behaviors and attitude, and all these information for all these things you will get from the force field analysis. Remember, the force field analysis by Levin, which we just discussed in previous slide, will actually answer these questions, that how you will find out the need for change through the environment study and discussion. Then what needs to be changed, how will you replace behavior and attitude of people. Attitude of people talks about resistance to change. People don't want to change. If you recall our initial classes on organization change and development, I had given you some small caselets. If you please go through the caselet again, you see the attitude. At many of the cases, the attitude of people was not to support change. On the contrary, there were some cases where the change was handled in a very bad way without creating any awareness among the people, because of which the change process failed, right? So then there is, ensure there is strong support. Now this is very important in organization change and development. You cannot go about organization development interventions if you don't have a strong support from management, because you need resources for it. You need contribution of employees, because you need, in organization development, you need to involve people. People means the employees of your organization, and if you don't have a strong management support, you cannot go by it. So therefore, keep this in your mind. Your organization development is always an activity which is part and parcel managed by the management, and it's a management decision always to carry out your management development activity. Then the doubts and concerns. These are the resistances that are identified through the force field analysis, and you need to understand. So once you do this homework, you plan it out, then you go about the change process. You implement the changes. That means you change the equipments. If we look at if you look at this example and carry it forward in this slide, we see that the force field, from force field analysis, we identify that there is a lot of fear among people, one issue, and fear as well as loss of remuneration because of reduced what you call this your overtimes. So reduced overtimes can be overcome by redesigning the job as well as redesigning the compensation package. Secondly, by providing awareness, sensitivity to need for change, and training and development activities, you can equip the people well, and those people who are, and this is what actually, you know, the slide actually shows you an example of 1980s, when first time in India computers were used in banks, were introduced in banks. When first time computers were introduced in bank, there was a lot of strikes, lot of hue and cry among people. The bank employees did not want at all, you know, they had a lot of fear. But then the banks actually caught this, initially they did not talk about the awareness programs, but when agitation and resistance was very high. What happens in resistance? Just try to think, what happens in resistance? Whenever there is resistance from people, there will be dysfunctional behavior. Okay? Whenever there will be dysfunctional behavior, there will be disruption. So once there is disruption, you cannot carry out any activity process smoothly. And that's what happened. They went for strikes and all those activities, because of which, you know, then the banks, they planned it smoothly. They carried out VRS for all those people who felt that they will not be able to change themselves. They recreated new roles. They redesigned the compensation packages, you know, and this is called planning. They train and develop people, you know, such large number of people work in the banking sector. They trained and developed everyone, and you can see the results nowadays, you know. Had the government or the, you know, banking organizations had feared the change, and they did not accept the digitalization of banking system and computers, just imagine we could have been in such a horrible state today. How to talk about moving out of the house or something like that, payments, purchase, everything could have been stuck, you know. We would have been stuck if in 1980s that change did not take place. So this is just a typical example of it. So once you have planned everything, implement the changes, help the employees, and help means you have to be lot with empathy. You know, empathy, very, very important for HR people, this characteristic. You know, empathy means trying to understand the other guy, and when you are trying to understand the other guy, you look at the viewpoints, their viewpoints, why they fear. Because my overtime is so much, I am earning so much because of my overtime, and everything will be lost. Okay, or other maybe because of the age, my God, I cannot fit into the technology. So you have to gradually make them cross the barrier. And you know, actually the percentage of people who actually face a problem is very low. But since it's a group effort and everybody wants to continue with the equilibrium state that they had, therefore they keep on resisting it. So you as an HR person, you know, and earlier changes used to be less, but nowadays we are in a very dynamic environment. When I say dynamic, that means change is constant. There's the change maybe in terms of economic changes, you change the policy of your organization. There may be some changes in legislations, you again change. There are mergers, acquisitions, so many you know, organization has to be continuously on toes to sustain itself in this dynamic environment. And that is the reason why, you know, we always say management students should be very dynamic and very resilient in their abilities, along with this empathy. Now what happens once you have, you know, carried out training and development, you generated awareness, you made people understand, how will you do it? You will do all these activities with help of OD interventions, which we will be dealing in our next next unit. Okay, so these OD interventions, there are many types of it. Maybe appreciative inquiry, it may be sensitivity training, it may be, you know, teamwork, anything. We will discuss it in our later classes. So once you carry out those interventions are nothing but they are change instruments which are fed in the process. Once these changes are taking place, you need to refreeze it, and this is very important. If you don't freeze the thing, remember the last caselet we discussed in our those 4 small caselets, the last caselet, what happened? One good leader came, he converted the hierarchy kind of organization and the autocratic leadership organization into a very flexible and autonomy organization. But after 2 years, when he left, the other guy came to his seat, he again changed the whole thing to the back position. Then what was the use? It was, you know, worthless, because whenever you make any change in an organization, lot of energy, thought process, money goes into it. You have a cost. Whenever you are making change, you have a cost, right? And you, if you don't continue and maintain the change, then and again go back, you know, regress back, then it's again it's a big loss to the company. So therefore this has to be taken up very seriously, which many times organizations don't do. Many times good leaders come, they change the way of working of the organization. The moment they go out, again somebody replaces and again kills the whole thing. Now that should be avoided. Therefore, in this case, I will give always take the name of, you know, your Toyota. Toyota is a company which often I have discussed with you, talks about continuous change and change in process. Don't change people or things in particular. Change the process and make the process so strong that even if the leaders go, even if the change agents go, now we will probably in our next unit discuss something called change agent. So even if the change agent leaves the organization, things keep on working, because, you know, we can never, you know, guarantee human life, isn't it? So even if a person goes out of the organization, the process should go on. So you should always focus on making the process strong. Put strength in, you know, strengthening the process and developing it. So what we do here, how we refreeze it, this is the key word for refreezing. First of all, remember it, which Toyota very well practices. And second is changes are reinforced and stabilized. Okay, you stable them. Once people have shifted, they started using the new equipments, small problems will come. See, whenever you change, suppose you renovate your house, suddenly for first few days or a week, there will be small problems. Somewhere the light fitting is not well, somewhere the water is leaking, something like that. Similarly, in organization, give some time, patience, energy to, you know, stabilize the change. That means see that the change is smooth and in a perfect shape. Integrate changes into the normal way of doing things. Now this integration is very important. Why? You remember when we are talking about change in system, when we talk of change in system, if one thing changes, the other thing also changes. Such a change is, you know, it has a spillover effect. So when you are changing one thing, you need to change all the things around it. For example, in this example, if you say you are changing equipment, you need to change the competency of people. You need to change their recruitment selection process. You need to change their compensation package. You need to change the rules and regulations of work. right? So this is just an example. So what I mean to say, when you are making change in one point of time, you need to see all the activities, because see, in a system all the activities are interdependent, and as they are interdependent, therefore change in one will affect all. So you have to accordingly balance and change everything to match or fit together, fit. They should fit together. If one also falls apart, then you will have problems. Your change process will not be smooth. This happens in mergers and acquisitions. Usually organizations change the papers, they change the financial aspects, but they forget, or they give very low value to change in human resource and policies and practices. And this failure to change people and its practices has, been one of the main contributing reason of failures of mergers and acquisitions of organizations. So next, let us see. So how I hope now you are clear with the second point. The next is develop ways to sustain the change. Now, how you can sustain the change? Carry out positive things. Suppose you are a very good student, you stood first in your class. So how you can keep yourself from staying best or being a topper in the class? By continuously energizing yourself, by continuously acquiring more and more knowledge, being sincere, be more hardworking.